throughout the day and what to expect news-wise and also on social media. And as you can see, we have a full house today from what's happening on the socials with Asha Fox. As usual, Jeff Mogira shall be giving us later on sports diary and political diary. We have David Mudoka also joining us, and that's why we're going to kick this off with David Mudoka. David, what's happening in politics today?
Good morning, Trix. And on the political front, it is quite a packed day. We have a number of stories taking place actually this morning all the way to evening. And just to run you through what we expect on the politics diary, just to start off at the corridors of justice, it is quite a big, special and important day for the country's second in command, and that is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, ahead of that ruling by the Milimani Anti-Corruption Court regarding the withdrawal of his graft case, and that is totaling to 7.4 billion shillings graft case. And so yesterday we did see the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions formally apply to withdraw that particular case, citing, among other issues, a lack of evidence. And so with that, the court actually stated that it will render its verdict regarding that formal application for the dropping of that case today, and actually at 9:30 a.m. And so all eyes, especially on the DP's camp, will be on that particular corridor of justice, where Justice, or rather Senior Principal Magistrate Victor Wakomele is expected to render his verdict regarding that case. We did see a number of cases earlier on regarding the very Deputy President take a twist, especially in the past 2 months, including that very case where he had approximately 200 billion shillings in his account, as well as that particular inquest into the murder of former Nyeri governor, and that is Wahome Gakuru. And so this very day is quite important, especially for that DP camp, ahead of that very verdict that is going to be rendered at 9:30 a.m. And away from that, to the presence of Parliament tricks, jostling and actually lobbying, intense lobbying for votes, especially for among the 30 EALA nominees, MP nominees, is expected to begin in earnest starting today, ahead of next week's voting by Parliament as to who will be representing the country in the East Africa Legislative Assembly. And so we did see 30 names actually fronted yesterday. Among them includes the name of ODM and Azimio leader Raila Odinga's daughter Winnie Odinga. We did see the name of Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka's son Kennedy Musyoka being fronted, and we did see also other names, including that name of Suleiman Shabal, who was an aspirant for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat before shelving his ambition, as well as that of Hassan Omar, who also vying for the Mombasa gubernatorial gubernatorial seat rather, but failed under the Kenya Kwanza ticket. And so that very lobbying for votes is expected to begin in earnest today, ahead of next week's voting of who will be representing the country in the East Africa Legislative Assembly. And just to finish off, Tricks, still in the presence of Parliament, the election for the chair of the Public Investments Committee, Commercial Affairs and Energy has already started, and so we are going to see who will be taking or rather bagging that very role, oversight role in the Parliament. And as it is the one who is eyeing the chair role for the PIC, Energy and Commercial Affairs, is Pokot South MP David Kosing. And so the election is underway. We have seen other elections take place in other committees, even as the entire leadership of Parliament takes its final shape, Tricks. And so those are some of the 3 top stories that we have today, and that will be taking place, and will be even divulging further details to our viewers in our subsequent bulletins.
Right, and we shall be keeping an eye out for that. But let's move over to Eldoret, where Elvis Kosgei is going to tell us about the preparations and the efforts being made to ensure that Eldoret transitions into a city. Over to you, Elvis.
To lead all the leaders from the 6 sub-counties of Uasin Gishu County at the Eldoret Town Hall for the Public Participation Forum, where we're expecting leaders and again businessmen from the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce, the members of the municipality of Eldoret, and also other leaders drawn from Uasin Gishu County. Remember, some of the reasons that maybe will elevate Eldoret into city status is that we have the Eldoret International Airport. Remember, also from this region, 70% of locals depend on agriculture, and as a region that is christened as the country's grain basket, these are some of the reasons that leaders want Eldoret to be elevated as city status. Remember also, we have the second largest referral hospital in the country. This is the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital here in Eldoret. We have world-class universities, the Moi University, University of Eldoret, Kisii University, among other universities in the area. But remember also, we have leaders who have divergent opinions, including the leaders of the Kenya Farmers Association, who are saying that they need to initiate tough and innovative measures that will ensure that Eldoret will be elevated into a city status. They are asking the political leaders, including the area governor, to work on the sewerage management system and also ensure that we have an expanded road network. Remember, from along the Eldoret to Kapsabet, where we have the Eldoret International Airport, other leaders are saying that we need to have a dual carriage. So these are some of the things that they think leaders should put into consideration before elevating Eldoret into a city status. So after here, we are headed to Eldoret Town Hall, where we're expecting the leaders of the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce, members of the Eldoret Municipality, Uasin Gishu Governor Jonathan Chelilimbi, Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Kiplagat Mandago, and the woman representative Gladys Bosholei, just to deliberate on the way forward as to elevate Eldoret into a city status.
Very much, Elvis. We shall be looking to you for updates on that front. But let's cross over across the country all the way to Mombasa, where Saada Hassan informs us that there is a shipment that is expected in the next few weeks that is going to bring some good economically to the nation. Saada, should we be hopeful and happy for this imports that are expected?
Well, yes, definitely. Good morning, Trix. We should be happy as a country because in the next 2 weeks, the port of Mombasa will be quite very busy. We expect 38 vessels to dock in at the port, and of these 38 vessels, 6 of them are carrying cars. We have some that are carrying general containers. We have some carrying oil. We also have wheat, sugar, and of course, fertilizer, of which now we can say that this is being attributed to the good environment that is being experienced across the globe right now. Especially because if you remember, at the height of the Ukraine war, then all of this was affected. The shipment of vessels was really affected, especially here in Mombasa, because we import a lot of stuff from outside countries. But right now we can see that vessels are docking in after every 2 or 3 weeks. About a month ago, we had about 42 vessels docking in, and right now we're expecting 38 of them. So they should be here in Mombasa about the week of 22nd, 23rd there. So that is when we should be having all these goodies here in our country. Of course, this can also be put into consideration that right now as a country we are done with politics in terms of the campaigning. So right now we're in a good political space to ensure that people can import goods to come into the country. So this is good news definitely for Kenya and also for our country, and also, of course, to the work that the port is doing, especially right now that we know that the port operations are reverted back to Mombasa. So this shows that a lot of things are really picking up in terms of the port working, and we expect more to come in the next few weeks. Tricks.
Thank you very much, Saada Hassan, and hopefully that injects some life into the economy, local and nationwide. Let's move over to Nyeri, where we are told that there is a war against illicit brew that is ongoing. Clement Masombo joins us for that update. Clement.
Yes, Trix, the war against illicit alcohol in Mount Kenya region and the country at large is something that calls for concerted efforts from various stakeholders. And it is for that reason that today various stakeholders are holding a consultative forum here in Nyeri town, just to discuss on measures and to discuss some of the measures that they will put in place to ensure that they fight illicit alcohol. Remember that manufacturing, distribution, as well as consumption of illicit alcohol has been on the rise in this region in the recent past, considering that just about 1 month ago there was a raid that was done by officials from KRA as well as the Kenya Police Service that raided a house, and they found actually a house that was meant to be a residential house was being used for manufacturing of the illicit alcohol. And just about 3 days ago, there was another lorry that was that was also intercepted in the areas of Embu and Kirinyaga, ferrying illicit alcohol. So the various stakeholders are coming together today to discuss and put in place measures that they will ensure that they fight this illicit alcohol. Well, from the program that we have so far, we have seen that officials from NACADA, officials from the Kenya Police Service, as well as Kenya Revenue Authority and Kenya Bureau of Statistics will be there, of course, discussing and ensuring that they put in place a very accurate measure that they will ensure that they fight this consumption of illicit alcohol. Remember that we have also witnessed a number of deaths resulting from consumption of illicit alcohol. We have occasioned such the deaths in Embu, we have seen in Kirinyaga, we have seen in parts of Isiolo, as well as here in Nyeri County, of course. So this is what they will be discussing to ensure that they put in place corrective measures. So we shall be pitching tent there and also seeking to speak to the stakeholders who will be present at that particular forum that is slated to start at exactly 10, getting statistics. How is the region affected so far? What are the statistics looking like in the Mount Kenya region as far as consumption of illicit alcohol is concerned? And of course, they will be disclosing to us some of the measures that they will have put in place to ensure that they fight illicit alcohol tricks.
Right. Hopefully this enables the country to make a lot of gains in tackling that problem of illicit brew. Now let's move on to Nakuru, where a CBC task force is busy at work. Dalmas Sakali is joining us to give us the latest on their activities in that part of the country. Over to you, Dalmas.
Good morning. Like you've rightly put it, the Working Party on Education Reforms that was formed by President Dr. William Samoei Ruto and chaired by Professor Rafael Munavu is actually in the process of completing the process of collecting views from members of the public and other stakeholders in the education sector. With the last sessions expected tomorrow in various counties, it is important to note that the task force began moving around in the 47 counties across the country, collecting views in various forums and of course around CBC and basic education, but at the same time as regards other matters of education, talking about tertiary education and education in institutions of higher learning. It is important to also note that the task force will be in Nakuru County tomorrow, that is Friday 11th November 2022, and not just Nakuru. Nakuru is just one of the many counties, around 10 counties. The task force will also be in Tana River, Machakos, Tharaka Nithi, Kiambu, Uasin Gishu, Kajiado, Vihiga, Kisumu, Nairobi, and Nakuru County. The session in Nakuru County is expected to be at Nakuru Boys High School. Today, the task force or the team is in this county and is expected to pay a courtesy call at Governor Susan Kihika's office before touring several institutions of higher learning, Egerton University being one of them. Of course, we understand Egerton University, like any other public university in the country, has had its fair share of challenges, of course, strikes and other challenges. The task force will also be touring Kabarak University, Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology and other institutions in that category. And of course, ahead of tomorrow's collection of views from members of the public and other stakeholders in the education sector. Allow me to also mention that the task force yesterday, that is Wednesday, was in Narok, that is Ole Tipis Girls High School. Narok being just one of the 5 counties they toured yesterday. They're also in Lamu, Embu, Muranga, and also West Pokot, of course, discussing various issues. Amongst the issues, of course, being brought forth has been the issue of transition from primary school to junior secondary school. Of course, a huge discussion around that. The cost of CBC has also been a huge discussion. And, of course, issues to do with funding of public universities, the issues with the financial constraints that have been reported in such institutions. And lastly, maybe just to remind our viewers that the task force has a 6 months period to collect views and then table a report, of course, to President Dr. William Ruto and the cabinet as towards regards the way forward as far as the education sector is concerned. Of course, amongst the issues they're supposed to be looking into is the issue around value-based education, community service learning, issues to do with teacher education, quality assurance, and of course to also review legislation around TVET, HELB, that is the Higher Education Loans Board, university education, and so many other issues. So we'll be following up what will be happening, and of course we'll keep our viewers posted on what will be happening around the CBC task force, though they are insisting that it's not only about CBC. Of course, the education task force that has been moving in various counties and will be in Nakuru County today and of course majorly tomorrow. So from Nakuru County, back to you.
Okay, let's move on to matters climate change. And Dennis Aseto is joining us to give us the very latest as far as the COP27 is concerned. It's currently happening in Egypt. Dennis, what's the latest?
Good morning, Trix. And yes, today is the 5th day since the Conference of Parties. This is the 27th edition, started in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh to be specific. And the latest is yesterday we witnessed something that is rather sad when it comes to preserving the environment, because the most important conversation, that is the loss and damage conversation, has been pushed to 2024. Remember that as we speak right now, Kenya is facing and experiencing the worst drought in 40 years. We talk about the drought, floods in South Africa, floods in Nigeria, but they decide with their own reasons to push this conversation to 2024, that is in the next 2 years or so about. And yesterday, activists, civil society who are there, especially from Africa, Asia and Europe, demonstrated in Egypt against that move, saying that these actions in regards to preserving the environment and making sure that these conversations are meaningful need to start now and not in 2024. It is interesting to see how these will continue in Egypt, especially given the fact that Africa decided to go to Egypt in one voice to have this discussion as Africans who are going through the hardest time, especially given the fact that we emit less but continue to suffer the most. So we are focusing on how these conversations will be taken forward, because we are concerned, because big countries who emit more seem to be always pushing this conversation forward. When it comes to us demanding that they meet the end of the bargain with regards to meeting the targets that they've set themselves of $100 billion between 2020 to 2030 are not being met. Every other time there is an excuse to push the conversation forward. But now let's just wait and see how that goes. Today we are just getting lessons from Denmark, what we can learn from them, because remember, it is a cycling nation. How are they dealing with being the biggest energy creators from recycled dirt, trash, using that to create energy? In Kenya, we know that we have Dandora